Now we're talking about part two of methods of research. Okay, we talked about surveys, we talked about experiments, we talked about naturalistic observation, we talked about correlations. Now what's left are case studies, statistics, literature review, and tests. Case studies. Case study is a documentation of interaction a person has with the system. You see it in forensic psychology, and you also see it in the mental health profession. In other words, forensic criminal justice system. Well, so and so the first time they came in contact with the legal system, with maybe petty theft. Second time they came in contact with the system, maybe an assault. The third time something else happened. Or Jane Smith, first time she came in contact was 13, where she had a suicide attempt. Maybe at 25, she came in again, was diagnosed with a particular disorder. As another time, they came in again, and something else happened. The beauty of case studies is you have a record there of what that person actually did. The disadvantage of case studies is that, well, you don't know what that person's doing when they're not committing crimes. But once again, the advantage of case studies is a lot of times you have people, even the best interviewer in the world can't always tell what type of person they're dealing with. Okay, where the case study is on paper. Ted Bundy, serial killer from Seattle area, Seattle-Tacoma area. This guy was likable, he was good looking, he was intelligent, he was articulate, and everybody who knew him liked him. Oh man, I like this guy. It's really a charming individual. Okay, and we still don't know how many women he killed. And he not only killed them, he basically did other things I don't really talk about in the film. This guy was horrible, but most people who knew him personally liked him. Whereas the case study has to document what this person actually did. Statistics. Statistics is you're using past performance to try to predict something that's going to happen in the future. I mean, every sport, they have statistics. You have batting averages, you have home runs, you have touchdown passes. Those all kind of compile, and then you look at those statistics as a way to predict who's going to win or how well a person's going to perform in the future. Okay, generally also you use statistics when you're comparing group or looking at large groups of people. Okay, using what's so-called the bell curve. Okay, and then basically if you ever taken a SAT or any type of test, they give you results and they tell you how to interpret your score, and what they're really doing is telling you where you fell on that curve. Okay, the beauty of statistics, you can use statistics to make some accurate predictions. On the other hand, they don't always pan out to a certain extent. Example, Connecticut women's basketball team. Okay, they have best three-point accuracy. Three-point accuracy, in other words, every time they shoot the ball from the three-point line, it goes in more than any other team. And because their three-point accuracy percentage is higher, you can predict that they're going to win most of their games. On the other hand, you can't always predict that they're going to win all their games, because in the game, always other issues come up as well. Maybe attitude, that particular day, this particular team, when I play. But either way, statistics can give you a small picture as to what to look for and help to predict. I mean, generally, if someone has a home run, knocks a bunch of home runs, you can pretty much predict in the future they're going to be able to do that to a certain extent. Okay. The problem with statistics is that it's kind of it's open to interpretation. And because it's open interpretation, people can promote false information, which they use statistics to promote false information. Is this glass half empty or half full? Okay, Fox News is really good at what they call science-coded journalism. In other words, using statistics to promote information that may or may not necessarily be true. Another method of research are tests. And you have two types of tests. You have achievement tests, and you have personality tests, and also you have projective tests, we'll talk about later on. Achievement tests, you look for a skills level, ACT, SAT, GRE, LSAT, MCAT, the IQ, they're all achievement tests. What's your skills level in math? What's your skills level in science? What's your skills level in whatever else you're doing? Okay, it's achievement tests. Okay, sometimes in colleges, they call them placement tests. And placement tests basically help the student, or at least in theory, it helps the student have a more successful experience and possibly even better able to graduate from a college or an institution. Okay, in other words, you wouldn't want to put someone who's never had algebra in a calculus class. Or you wouldn't want to put someone who's a calculus in an arithmetic class. In other words, that's the beauty of placement tests. You know where they are, and then you can take that information and know where to start them at, which will give them a more successful experience. Then you have personality tests. Personality tests, you're looking for a profile. What type of person am I dealing with? Are you dealing with a narcissist or a histrionic or a sociopath? What type of person are you dealing with here? Okay, MMPI, Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Disorder Inventory. That's probably one of the most widely used tests. Myers-Briggs. Okay, it's another one. MCMI, that test is used to pick up personality disorders. But all these tests are basically there to look at a profile as opposed to a skills level. The beauty of personality tests is that you can use them. There's no right or wrong answer. Depends what you're looking for. Okay, it's something like the MMPI. You have a paranoid scale, you have a sociopath scale, you have an obsessive compulsive scale, you have a catch scale, which is a lie scale, and a careless scale, and some other scales. Okay, now someone who's basically maybe an investigator, hiring a private investigator or someone like that, you might want someone who scores high on the paranoid scale. On the other hand, if you're hiring another position, you might not want somebody who's on higher on the paranoid scale. Okay, I like being around a lot of people. Okay, or another question might be, what's more important to you, helping people or making money? Well, if you're applying for a counselor position, the correct answer is helping people. On the other hand, you're applying for a sales position, the correct answer is, there you go, making money. Okay, so that's the beauty of personality tests. Okay, the problem with personality tests is pencil paper versus real life. Pencil paper, this person can score off the scale on this test, but you put them in real life, they may not to. And there are two concepts you want to look at when you talk about evaluating the effectiveness of the test. Okay, one is reliable. Is the test reliable? Reliable means, will the person get the same score every time they take it? On the other hand, the most important factor is valid. Is the test valid? Does the test test what it claims to test? Okay, you want to know how well someone swims? Are you going to give them a math test? Of course not. Okay, the test will not be valid. But let's look at that. Valid versus reliable. Sometimes you don't want a test to be reliable. Example, you're teaching a math class. You give them a test at the beginning of the quarter, you give them a test at the end of the quarter. If they get the same score at the end of the quarter they did at the beginning of the quarter, that means what? They didn't learn anything. On the other hand, you always want your test to be valid. Another type of test are your projective tests. Rorschach, TAT in particular. Rorschach was a psychiatrist in the 1960s where he took some ink and poured on some piece of paper, folded the paper up, opened it up, and asked his patients, what do you see? Okay, TAT, I'll show you some slides of the Rorschach. If you go Google, you'll see some of the slides of the Rorschach. Okay, and then you have the TAT, Traumatic Apperception Test. TAT is a really good test to pick up child abuse. Okay, you look at a picture and you ask the child to tell you what's in that picture. Particularly 7 and under, because it's really difficult to get information out of children under 7. I mean, a lawyer's nightmare is to have to interview kids, because a lot of times they don't have to talk to their own kids, try to interview. The key with that is keep it simple, short sentences, simple ideas.